Hello everybody, we're just waiting for some of the participants to join, so welcome. Good morning everyone, we're expecting about 70 people to join us this morning, so we're just waiting a few minutes so everybody can join the event. Morning everyone, we're just waiting a couple of more minutes just so everybody can actually join before we start. A couple more minutes just to see if everybody said they're joining has been able to join. Most people now. So good morning everyone and welcome to our discussion today. We're looking at increasing resilience in climate resilience in farmers. My name is Carrie Baker and I am the head of Shared Interest Foundation. I know some of the participants have joined our events before, but for those of you that haven't, you will have the opportunity to ask questions throughout the event. You'll see a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. So throughout the event, if you wish to ask a question of any of the panelists, please type in your question in the bottom. Laura and Stina will actually be managing that Q&A throughout the event. If you've got any technical questions, please put them in there and they'll try and assist. And we've got about 15 minutes at the end of the presentation, so we'll try and get through as many of your questions as possible. So let me introduce your speakers for today. We've got Kodjo, Harriet and Jacinta. I know Jacinta was having a few technical problems, so I'm not sure. Oh, it looks like she's managed to join. So Harriet, Kodjo, Jacinta, do you want to switch your cameras on and I'll introduce you? Jacinta, do you want to put your camera on? So while Jacinta's just trying to sort her camera out, we've got Kodjo. Kodjo is our foundation manager. Kodjo's based in Ghana. So Kodjo is managing our projects for Shared Interest Foundation. And then we've got Harriet Irwin, who's our Foundation Development Officer based here in Newcastle in the UK, and is actually doing a lot of the funding applications and also putting together and obviously helping Kodjo with the projects. And then we have the privilege of, with Jacinta Kabuhu, who is the General Manager of BUKONZO Coffee Cooperative based in Uganda. And hopefully, I know Jacinta's got a few technical issues this morning, but hopefully Jacinta's going to be able to give us a presentation. We have a pre-recording as well, just in case. So Harriet, do you want to give us a short introduction to the work of the foundation?
Yeah, thanks, Kerry. So good morning, everyone. So just to introduce Shared Interest Foundation to you all. So we are the charitable arm of Shared Interest Society. We're an international development charity founded in 2004. And as Kerry said, our head office is based in Newcastle. So we believe in contributing to a reduction in poverty through the development of sustainable businesses. So we fundraise to enable us to deliver a range of social impact projects, working right at the grassroots level with farmers, helping them to improve their farming practices, to supporting cooperatives to improve their sustainability through training in governance and finance skills. So whilst we aim to consider all of the sustainable development goals within our project design, the 4 that we feel most closely align with our work are no poverty, gender equality, decent work and economic growth, and climate action. So just to give a little bit of a flavour of what we do and where we work. So we currently have active projects in South America and in East and West Africa. So in Nicaragua, we are working with sesame farmers to improve their organic production, and also with coffee farmers in Peru to help them increase their organic production and increase their household income. In West Africa, we recently completed 2 projects in Burkina Faso, working with rural communities to help them earn an income through beekeeping. And in Ivory Coast, we are currently delivering a 5-year project working with cocoa farmers. And in Northern Ghana, we are working with basket weavers to help them increase their resilience through diversifying into soilless vegetable production. In East Africa, we are currently working in Rwanda with a group of 50 young coffee farmers. And in Uganda, we are working with coffee farmers to help them increase their climate resilience and also diversify into passion fruit production for increased income. So last year, through our work, we delivered 9 projects across 7 countries. We worked in partnership with 7 cooperatives who in turn support over 10,000 producers. And we work with local partners to deliver a variety of training courses, including good agricultural practices, climate smart agriculture, and agribusiness skills to 740 farmers, 56% of whom were women. So I will now ask Kojo to share his presentation, and Kojo will talk to you a little bit about some of our projects and the activities we are delivering to increase the climate resilience of the farmers and artisans we support.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Harriet. We all know that climate change is real, and it is one of the major challenges facing producers in the global south. And at Shared Interest Foundation, we aim to build strong, resilient, and sustainable businesses. And for that matter, we are equally concerned about the issue of climate change. For this reason, we have been developing and implementing a wide range of projects aimed at promoting eco-friendly farming practices and building the climate resilience of producer groups across Africa and Latin America. One of the key projects that we have implemented in this space to promote eco-friendly farming practices is the construction of an organic fertilizer production infrastructure. We supported a coffee producing cooperative located in the northern jungle of Peru, known as SICAFE, to construct an organic fertilizer production plant with an annual production capacity of 250 metric tons. This is to reduce the utilization of agrochemicals in farming, and also to promote access to organic compost. We know climate change actually comes with a whole lot of issues of low yield. And in order to help farmers to be able to maintain their yield despite the devastating effect of climate change, it is important that they adopt a nature-based solution to increase yield. So we've been able to establish this compost production infrastructure in order to help farmers to easily access organic fertilizer and reduce the use of chemicals in farming. So during the past year, we've been able to support SICAFE to produce over 240 metric tons of organic fertilizer, which was distributed to 380 farmers. And we've been able to apply this on 494 hectares of coffee farm. Let me indicate that the organic fertilizer was supplied at a highly subsidized cost of $10 per a bag of 50 kilos. So the bag that you can see in the picture are a bag of 50 kilograms. So we supply them at $10 against a commercial price of $56. So you could see that we made it very affordable for farmers to increase a high adoption of organic fertilizer for application on their farms. At the beginning of last year, the organic compost was $21 commercially in Peru, but during the year, it has increased to $56. And this represents about 166% increase, discouraging a lot of farmers to be able to access it. So when farmers are unable to access organic fertilizer, they resort to chemical methods to increase their yield because their livelihood depends on how much coffee or produce they can grow. But with this project, farmers had it at a very low cost, and this has encouraged a high demand for it. And most of the farmers who used to apply chemical fertilizer are now adopting organic fertilizer for increased yield. And we know that chemical fertilizers have a detrimental effect on the environment. So recently we have seen a reduction of the use of chemicals in farming. And also we are through this process promoting biodiversity conservation and also an environmentally sustainable agriculture among the farming population in Peru. One other strategy that we adopted, this one in Nicaragua and in Uganda, is to train the farmers in organic fertilizer production. So here we have not established a plant to produce organic fertilizer, but rather we use a different method, which is to build the capacity of farmers to be able to produce their own organic fertilizer for application, using locally available materials such as green vegetation, animal manure, ash from wood, and then other ingredients found in their local environments. This came to the farmers at a very low cost because these materials are sourced locally at no cost because they are readily available. And we train them as to how they will be able to produce their own fertilizer for application on their farm. So in Nicaragua, we see some farmers, they were trained. And also in Uganda, we have trained 365 farmers in the production of organic fertilizer. And it came at a very low cost and reduced their cost of production because these things were available for them and they didn't need to really incur any high cost in order to produce these organic fertilizers. So that was also another method that we use in these countries to encourage a high access of organic fertilizer to increase yield despite the effect of climate change on production. Another project that we implemented during the year was the production of organic pesticides for controlling pests and diseases in farming. Just as I mentioned earlier on, climate change comes with a high incidence of pests and diseases which tend to affect yield and the income of producers. So most producers, in order to be able to control the pests and diseases in farming, resort to the use of chemical method for controlling these diseases and pests. However, together with Secafe, we've been able to renovate a laboratory for the production of a fungi that has the natural ability to control pests and diseases in coffee farming. So this is the laboratory. We equipped the laboratory and provided all the supplies necessary for the production of this fungi, known as Bovaria bassiana fungi. So far, we've been able to produce a total of 187 kilograms of this fungi and distributed it to 152 farmers. We've also trained specialists in the production of the organic pesticide using the fungi and who also have expertise in the spraying. So these experts that we have trained have been able to spray about 123 hectares of farms. And report that we have received recently from the field shows that the coffee borer disease that have been attacking the coffee beans are being eliminated. And this has also begun to improve the growth of the coffee cherish, and then the plant looks more healthier. So here you see the preparation of the organic pesticide, which is based on the fungi that was produced and propagated in the laboratory. And then on my right-hand side, these are the experts that we have trained who are spraying the coffee trees. So these are nature-based solutions, and farmers, having seen already the positive effects of the organic pesticide, are now abandoning the use of chemical methods such as insecticide and pesticide to control these pests in farming, and are resulting to the biological means to control pests and diseases in their farms. This will go a long way to protect the environment and also conserve biodiversity. And this is a very environmentally friendly approach and sustainable manner of farming that Shared Interest Foundation have been working to promote in Peru and in other countries across the world. Now, the second aspect of the work of Shared Interest Foundation is focused on building the resilience of producers to climate change. So what are our interventions? First, we provided training to close to 600 farmers in climate smart farming practices, such as mulching, crop rotation, intercropping, direct seeding, soil water conservation, planting of improved crop varieties, and other areas that could help the farmers to build their resilience against climate change. So when you look at our product beneficiaries, you will see that most of them have adopted these techniques, and this is helping them to better adapt to the effects of climate change. Another level of intervention is establishing of climate and disease-resistant nurseries. We know that the current trees that we have are not able to withstand the harsh climatic conditions. So working with the Ministry of Agriculture of the various countries in which we have interventions, we've been able to develop a number of nurseries which are climate and disease resistant. So for instance, in Côte d'Ivoire, we have established close to 40,000 cocoa seedlings, which are climate and disease resistant. In Uganda, we had close to 20,000 passion fruit seedlings. And then in Rwanda, we have over 60,000 coffee seedlings that we have supplied to producers. So in all, we have supplied 120 climate and disease resistant seedlings, which were distributed to 608 farmers in Uganda, in Côte d'Ivoire, and in Rwanda. So these varieties are fast maturing and have the capacity to withstand the weather conditions and still could maintain a high level of yield. Furthermore, we also really implemented tree planting activity. We all know that trees actually increase soil fertility, improve the local microclimate, prevent soil erosion, provide shade to the trees, promote the biodiversity, and generate income for the farmers, because some of the trees are fruit trees, so they are able to harvest the fruit that they sell locally to make an income. So during the period, we have planted, or our beneficiaries have planted 5,800 shade trees to promote adaptation and resilience to climate change. So these have also been very helpful. So in all, we planted 1,527 trees in Rwanda. We planted 3,650 trees in Uganda, and then 625 trees in Côte d'Ivoire. So all this is to really help the climates to build resilience against climate change. So these are some of the interventions that the foundation has been implemented in general to protect the environment and also to build the resilience of farmers against climate change. Thank you very much. So I will now hand over to Jacinta to tell us about how her organization is coping with the effect of climate change in her region. Thank you.
Thanks, Kodjo.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Kodjo, could you just stop sharing your screen? And I will get, thank you. We're ready for you now, Jacinta.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kabuo Jacinta, General Manager, BUKONZO Organic Farmers Cooperative Union. We are located in western part of Uganda, that is Kasese district. We are near DRC Congo. We work with primary cooperatives. These are 12 primary cooperatives, and with smallholder farmers. Our major role is to buy members' coffee and see that it's exported to the specialty markets. So we implement a number of activities. As I've said, we are coffee farmers, and most of the farmers are on the nurseries. And them being on the mountains, they are facing a lot of challenges due to issues of climate change. Major issues have been floods. You can see what happened. This was in May 2020. 1,200 farmers lost their coffee fields. And this was the situation. And this is when shared interest came in to come with relief, which we are proud of. We have had long drought in the coffees and other crops, which has been a challenge to the coffee business as well as the farmers, because most of the coffee is float and they are given back to the farmer, which would be a benefit to them. And BUKONZO herself loses on volume. More than that, we have had a lot of heavy rains caused by issues of climate change. Then at the end of that day, we get heavy storms, and also people lose their lives. So in the coffee farming system, we are having challenges of pests and diseases due to the long drought. And of course, this one reduces on the economic income of the farmer because the quality is not good, and normally we don't buy such a coffees. And if we are to buy, it will fetch very little money that goes back to the farmer. Another challenge has been the cherries. We are seeing our cherries reducing in size. We are getting more of the coffees of 14 screen, which is a low grade. And normally the coffees have been weighing screen 15, 17, and 18. This one is a challenge to the farmer as well as to BUKONZO as an institution. And of course, at the end of the day, the farmer gets less income than gets less income than would have got if the coffee quality was good. And BUKONZO herself also will realize less money from the coffee sales. We have another challenge. Farmers lost their lives, they lost their crops and homesteads due to the issues of climate change. You can see a lady in the middle who lost a coffee field, and there were some animals and homestead in that place. Now there is nothing, which also brings about an issue of food insecurity. Because of the climate change, there are a lot of rains, a lot of floods, all crops are washed away, and the farmers remain a challenge of food insecurity. What are we doing as BUKONZO in partnership with other partners like Shared Interest? To overcome the challenges of climate change, we are planting trees that are friendly to coffee. And so far we have planted 5,650 trees. That is one way of reducing on issues of climate change. We are also giving out energy cook stoves. We have so far given out 2,000 to BUKONZO farmers. We are also creating awareness about issues of climate change and how farmers can adapt to them. So here you can see a farmer has prepared a nursery bed. We are going to, is supposed to plant passion fruit, which was a fund from shared interest as an income diversification aspect. So farmers began to prepare their nursery beds and they raised passion fruit seedlings, which were given out. This is one way of having a diversification since farmers are having challenges of climate change. And next, we are trying to see if we can stamp the coffee and prune to ensure that our coffees can increase in production. Then the third one, we are seeing farmers preparing fertilizers locally. They collect different grass, put in the drum. They add wood ash and add an enzyme on the soil fertility and to ensure that production increases. And this has been a support from shared interest. And we have had a number of trainings on climate smart agriculture, training in organic fertilizer production. This has been support from shared interest. I thank you very much for shared interest support, and we hope to continue working together to improve the livelihood of the farmers. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacinta. Jacinta, Kodjo, Harriet, can I invite you to put your cameras on and your microphones, and then we've got quite a few questions actually from the audience. I think the first couple are for you, Kodjo. Let me try and put these together into some, there's quite a few around the fertilizer and the pesticides. So in terms of the biological controls, Kodjo, there was on the fungi particularly, are there any sort of adverse effects or effects on the other species of plants around the coffee farms?
Thank you, Kerry. No, there are no side effects because these, as I said, are nature-based solutions. So they are biological, they are ecologically friendly methods that are used to control the pests and diseases. So there is absolutely no side effect or interaction with other species on the farm.
Okay. And then again, on the fertilizer and the actual fungi, is this very local, or can it be, is it tailored to the region, or can it be something that's used across a number of regions?
For the fungi production, the strains are sourced locally and then propagated in the laboratory. So I know that this is actually applicable to farmers in the Latin American region, but we have not experimented that in other regions such as Africa to see whether it will also work in that region. But in any case, to be able to apply, you need to source the fungi from the local area to be able to apply it to the farm. So perhaps when we move to other regions also, then we need to source the fungi locally and propagate it and research and see whether they will also work before we make it a general method for adoption by farmers. But for now, it's working very well in the Latin America region. For the compost, yes, there are also the materials that are used in the production of the organic compost are also sourced locally, and so they are adapted. In Ghana, for instance, they use a different set of material for the production of the organic fertilizer. But when you move to Rwanda or Uganda, they also use materials that are available in their local area and apply a simple technology to be able to produce the compost for distribution to the farmers. So the materials vary from one local area to the other. Thank you.
And this one's for you, Jacinta. There's some of the guests were asking specifically about the organic compost and what went into the organic compost that you were producing. You had some pictures on your presentation.
We are producing organic fertilizer where we collect different materials locally. Then we buy an enzyme from southwestern part of Uganda, that is Kabale. Then we add it on to increase the level of decomposition. Instead of 90 days, it takes 21 days when it has decomposed. And we are able to get liquid that we have to add on the crops like coffee and passion fruit.
Thank you. And another question just come in actually about the coffee. Somebody's asking, is it agroforestry system coffee or sole cropping coffee?
It is agroforestry. We are having different trees that are friendly to coffee. And the major reason is to be resilient to climate change and also for the farmers to get firewood as they begin to cut the branches. So it's a multi-purpose way of doing things.
Thank you. Thanks, Jacinta. Another one for you, Kodjo. You talked about trees being planted by the farmers, and the audience were interested in terms of understanding the right trees, whether the farmers have a choice about the trees that are selected and the purpose of the trees that are planted as well.
Thank you, Kerry. The selection of the trees is actually informed by the Extension Division of the Ministry of Agriculture. So we do not just source the trees, but we work in partnership with the Extension Department to select the trees that are compatible with the type of farm or crops that we are producing. Just as Jacinta said, the trees must not compete with each other, but rather complement each other. So we take that into consideration, and we receive a lot of advice from the ministry or the local Ministry of Agriculture to ensure that those trees are locally acceptable, compatible with the crop tree that we have planted and can do well in that local environment.
Okay. And a question about working in partnership. I don't know if Harriet, you want to sort of answer this one in terms of what sort of partnerships we get involved with, particularly partnerships on the ground with the likes of Fairtrade Africa or CLAC in Latin America.
Yeah, so to deliver all our projects, we work in partnership. We're a small team at the foundation, so it's essential that we work with local partners to get that local knowledge, the local understanding, and really understand the challenges on the ground. So some of our partners, as you've said, we've worked with sort of those large organisations, with CLAC in the past and also with Fairtrade Africa. At the minute, a lot of our partners are quite small. So in Burkina Faso, a key partner of ours is PNCEB, who are the national platform for fair trade producers in Burkina Faso. So we've worked with them now since 2018 to deliver a number of projects, and as well as working with like Jacinta at BUKONZO, working directly in partnership with the cooperatives. They're in a great position to be able to understand the needs of the producers on the ground and how our activities and projects can best meet those needs. But we are always looking at new partnership opportunities, particularly in areas of climate change, of women's empowerment, and to be able to kind of increase our knowledge and experience in those areas.
Thank you, Harriet. Another one for you, Jacinta, specifically about the stoves that you were talking about in your presentation. One of the attendees was asking about the stoves and what is different about the stoves that you are supplying.
We are going for cook stoves as a means of reducing on cutting a lot of trees. If we want to see climate change adaptation, we have to reduce on cutting trees. That is one. Two, we are also reducing on the challenge of women suffering health issues like cancer that is attracted from the too much smoke in the kitchen. And this is money that is added on by one of the buyers of coffee called EZR in Austria. He added some money for climate climate premium and is meant for the procurement of cook stoves. Every container we supply to the buyer, he adds a climate premium, and this money goes back to the farmers in the form of energy saving cook stove. We are looking at 3,000. We are now at 2,000 cook stoves that have been given out to the farmers.
And then another one for you, Kodjo. We've probably got a little bit of time for one or two more questions if anybody has any more. In terms of the projects that you're delivering, you've talked about a lot of projects in different countries. How do you measure the success of the projects that you're involved with in the foundation, Kodjo?
Yeah, we really implement a very robust monitoring and evaluation processes to undertake impact evaluation. So at the start of every project, we do carry out a baseline study to understand the existing situation before the launch of the project. And over time, we keep on collecting data on properly gathered indicators to be able to assess progress that we are making towards achieving the stated objective of the project. So monitoring is ongoing on regular basis. Data gathering goes on regular basis in order to ensure whether we are on course or not. And if we feel that we may not be able to achieve a target, then we call a project meeting to review the target and take other remedial action to ensure that the stated objective of the project are met. So that is how we are able to monitor and then assess the impact of our projects.
Brilliant, thank you. I'm just looking to see if there's any. There's one final question for Jacinta. The question here about what would you like if you had if you could provide more money to the farmers, Jacinta, what do you think the community would ask for next?
We, as BUKONZO and the farmers, we still want to grow the increase on the project of climate change adaptation, because we are now supporting 2 primary cooperatives, and I talked of 12, which means there is still a gap for the other cooperatives to also benefit on the same. That is tree planting. We still want to go into agroforestry for the other primary cooperatives.
And final question there, one for Kodjo really. When you've been going to visit the various projects around the world, what was the most striking positive impact that you've come across that really surprised you? A nice one to end on, Kodjo.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. There are a number of things, but the major one that really strikes me is the way vulnerable communities are able to deploy means locally to be able to meet, excuse me, their survival needs. You will see that a lot of them struggle, but they are able to use what they have to turn it into something positive in order to sustain their living, and which I feel is something very positive. And in terms of projects, when you do implement a project in those communities, you see so much involvement and participation, first in identifying the problems that they have, and the way they are able to get involved in finding out a solution to their own problem is also something positive that you see across a number of communities and the project that we do implement across the world.
Brilliant, thank you. Thank you so much to our speakers. I think that's been really interesting, some fantastic comments coming through as well from the audience. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have actually recorded this, so if anybody wants to watch this back, they can do. Really appreciate your time. So thank you very much. We have a series of other presentations and events coming up throughout Fair Trade Fortnight. If you'd like to join us through that, you can find out information on our website. Thank you very much for joining us. Goodbye. Thank you.